Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this part of the tutorial video, we will start creating the shell nozzles. And here we have some nozzles on the shell cans. We will start with nozzle N1 and N2. Here if we take a look to the bill of material and select nozzle N2, it's 2 inches, okay, and it's a utility connection with ATS schedule. Weld neck raised face flange with rating 600, and here the projection from the visual center line. Okay, now let's select the first can. That's the first can. Let's minimize this, and from here let's select the first can, and from here let's add N1. Okay, so from here let's select N1, and it's a nozzle from pipe with 2 inches with schedule ATS. Okay, and the location here, if we take a look to the elevation view, it's 200 millimeters from the tan line. That means it's 150 millimeters from the seam line. That's the value SEG can understand. So from here, let's define the location, and from the top view, let's check the orientation. So we're here as an N1 on orientation 70. So let's change the orientation, and from here, it's a utility connection. That's the service of this nozzle, and let's click on save, and from here let's select the nozzle and let's select standard nozzle and N1 flange. From here select it as a weld neck raised face according to ASME B16.5. the schedule is 600 and the size is 2 inches with the schedule ATS, and click on save. Now if we come back again to nozzle N1 and open the calculator, now we can define the projection. So let's check the value on the nozzle table. So that's nozzle N2, so the value 2185 is 2185, and let's click calculate. So that's the projection of the nozzle. Now let's click assembly, and now let's click start the assembly of this nozzle. We will add a stiffening grip to this nozzle. So if we come here to that view, as you can see, we have a stiffening grip here to this nozzle. So we need to select the can 1, and from elements let's select external attachment, and from the external attachment you will find here a stiffening grip and a stiffening support. So we will need to add a stiffening grip, so it's N1 grip, and from here select N1, and as you can see you can add a stiffening grips to the nozzle, the shell nozzle, as you can see up to 4 grips, and you will find here some different configurations for this stiffening. So let's select that configuration, and from here let's define the outside diameter. It's 2 inches, so that's the outside diameter of the 2 inches. And from here the rib width, so let's measure the width of this rib. So from the home, let's measure the distance from here up to there, so it's 40 millimeters. Okay, so the and thickness, let's make it 6 millimeters, and the rib angle we need to measure let's measure the angle of the, okay, so let's measure the angle. So from here let's measure this angle. It is 30, so it's 30 degrees, and the location, the same location of the nozzle, and the orientation, it's the same orientation of the nozzle, and here's the material, and it should be so let's make it SA 4 600. It will be like that. And from here the rib offset, so the offset is measured from the end of the pipe. So let's come here and measure this distance. So from here let's measure the linear value from here to there. It's 22 millimeters, so it's 22, and the projection, it should be the same projection of the pipe, so we will get the projection from here. Okay, so as you can see, the projection, we will need to add the projection of the pipe here, and it's a radial nozzle. And if you would like to add some other ribs, you can do that. Now let's click save and click start to add a rib to this nozzle. Now we have this stiffening rib. It will be like that. So we may need to add a rib to another rib to the perpendicular side. It will be like that, and the angle will be 30 degrees, and the offset will be the same offset. It's 22. And now let's click save and run. Now we have this stiffening rib here at the top of the nozzle, like that. Now let's add another nozzle, which is N2. Okay, and now let's check N2 orientation. So if we take a look here, N2 at 200 degrees. So let's take a copy from N1 and make paste like that. And the same from the rib. Let's take a copy from that rib and make paste. And now let's rename those items. From here it's N2 and click on rename, and from here N2 flange and click rename, and from here it's N2 rib and click on rename. Now let's change the content. So the orientation of this nozzle in 200 degrees, and the same for the flange will be keep it as it is, but for the rib we will change the orientation and give it the same orientation of the nozzle, and click on start assembly to start creating nozzle N2. Okay, until finishing the updating of this nozzle, let's go through the nozzle C1 and C2. Okay, here nozzle C1 and C2, it's 12 inches. Okay, and here that's the name of this nozzle. So let's take a copy from it. It's the service, and it's from blade with 10 millimeters the thickness. So here I think the assembly is done. Now we have that's the first nozzle, and here the second nozzle. Now let's add nozzle C1. So from here let's select shell 1 and let's add another nozzle C1. Okay, and from here let's select a nozzle from blade. So that type, which is nozzle from blade, and we need to define the where's C1 and C2. It's 12 inches, so we need to check the outside diameter of the 12 inches. So we will need to open the array, and from here that's the outside diameter. Okay, so from here let's define the pipe OD. Okay, and the thickness is 10 millimeters. Here we have the longitudinal welding line orientation and the location of the nozzle. Let's come here. So the location will be on 690. So we will decrease 50 millimeters of the straight flange, so it will be 640. So it will be 640. And for the orientation, we will need to check the top view for C1. So where is C1? C1 at 0. Okay, so we will keep it that one at 0. And from here, that's the service of the nozzle. And from here, it's not a radial nozzle, it's a tilted nozzle. So we will need to select this one. And from here, we will make it 45 degrees and click on save. Okay, now let's check the tilted angle direction, if it's okay or not. To update it on the model, to check it first if the direction is okay, or we need to change the value. So that's the 45 degrees. Okay, it's like that. So we need to add a flange to this nozzle. So from here, let's select this external connection point and add C1 flange like that. And from here, let's select a welding raised face according to ASME, and let's check the rating and of this flange. It's 150. Okay, so it's 150. So from here, let's select keep the size to be 12 inches and 10 inches at the end. Click save. Now let's add a gasket. So from here, let's C1 gasket. It's 12 inches. Now let's add blind. C1 blind. So from here, let's select blind with a raised face according to ASME 16.5 and make it flipped. And now let's run the assembly. Now let's come back to the AutoCAD drawing. Here, as I can see, we have a reinforced bed for this nozzle. We forget to add it, so let's come back here and check the value of this reinforced bed. It's 210 with 22 millimeter thickness. So we need to come back to this nozzle again. From here, sorry, let's check the value again. I may forget, it's 210. Sorry, it's 22 millimeter thickness, as I remember. Yes, it's 22. And for the material, we can search for that one and select the material like that. And regarding the projection, we could measure the projection from a quick drawing. Okay, because here, as I can see, the projection is not defined here, but it's maybe defined from here, from the outside surface of the shell to the facing of the flange. It's 500 millimeter. So we need to update this projection and make it the same. So from here, let's 50. And now let's check the projection. So let's measure it from here. So let's make a sketch, print this line. Let's add circle here. Click finish. Now let's measure from here to there. So we need to increase 85 millimeters to this nozzle. So from here, let's increase that value to be like that. Okay, and now let's start the assembly to start modifying the nozzle by adding a rebed to this nozzle and changing the projection of this pipe to make the final projection is 500 millimeters. Now let's check the drawing again. Now, as you can see, the projection is updated to 500 millimeter from the outside surface of the shell to the facing of the flange. Now let's add another nozzle like that. But before that, as you can see, we have here a hand grip and hinge support to this nozzle. So to add that by using SEG, we need to select the blind flange, and from the elements, let's add a hand grip. So C1 grip. Okay, and from here, let's select the first one. You will find different types of hand grips. We will select the first type and keep everything as it is, and the offset we will keep it at 0 and click on save. And now let's click start the assembly to check the location and the orientation of this hand grip on the cover. Okay, it's okay. Now let's add a hinge support. So from here, let's select this one, and from elements we can add a hinge support. So from here, let's select C1 hinge. Okay, and by selecting it from the tree, we can select a detailed manhole hinge. Okay, so you can select this one directly and modify the value. So we can select 12 inches and here's the size and the orientation. Let's make it at a 0 degree, and let's keep everything as it is and click on start assembly to start creating this one. Okay, as you can see, each part on the hinge is created and assembled on the final assembly of the cover. Here, if we take a look, as you can see here on that type of hinge, so that means we will not need this hinge, so we can delete the C grip, okay, and keep that one. And we can modify the orientation of this one. So the orientation, we could make it on 90 degree and click save. Now click on start simply to update the hand grip. Okay, but after doing that, we can add stud bolts to this one, and by taking a copy from all of this nozzle, we can make nozzle C2, which include the flange, gasket, cover, the hinge, the cover hinge, and the stud bolts. So we can take a copy from all of that in one time. So I think we need to flip the direction of this one. So let's change to be like that. And now let's add stud bolts. So from here, let's add C1 stud. Okay, and from here, let's measure the nut spacing. So let's take a copy from this. And from here, let's open the flange and open the bolting. And from the bolts, sorry. So here we have the size, and here we have the length. So from here, let's select the size 7x8, and here that's the spacing, and here's the length. And let's click on save. And now let's start the assembly to start modifying the hand grip. After that, start modifying the or creating the stud bolts. So here, after creating this assembly, you can figure that here's this nozzle with this hinge with the stud bolts. Now we can take a copy from all of this nozzle, which is C1, and create nozzle C2. So copy and make a paste here, and make a rename for all parts. So let's rename this as C2 and save. After that, select this flange and make it flange C2 flange, and remove those numbers and rename. And for the gasket, it's gasket C2, and remove that part and rename. The same for blind, it's C2 blind, and remove that part, click save. And finally, the hinge, it's 2, click save. The last piece, stud bolt, and click on save. Now let's change the orientation of the nozzle C2. So let's take a look to the top view of this nozzle. So here nozzle C2 located on 180 degrees. So the orientation will be like that. And from the assembly, let's start creating the assembly. Okay, here, as you can see here, we have the second nozzle. Now let's add, we have 2 more nozzles on this can. The first one, which is T1, TL1 and TL2. Okay, so we will take a copy. It's the same definition of nozzle N1 and N2. So let's take a copy from this one and make paste. Okay, and from here let's take the nozzle name. Okay, and here's the nozzle name. Let's change it to be like that, and change the location and orientation based on this drawing. So the T1 location, it's located on 3200, so we will decrease 50 millimeter of the straight flange, so it will be 300 and 150. And the orientation, let's check it from the top view. It's T1, it's on 20 degrees, and let's click on save. Now let's take a copy from the rib. Okay, and paste it here and rename it as TI1. It's TI1. Okay, and remove that part. And let's take a copy from T1 to make it TI2. So copy and paste. And rename this one. Okay, and let's remove that part, and the same thing for the flange. Okay, and from here let's change the location and orientation. So let's check the orientation, which is T2. Where is that one? It's T1, 2. Okay, it's on 335. And the location, it's on 7700, so we will decrease 50 millimeters and click on save. Now let's define the location of the first rib to be the same of that one. So let's take a copy from location and orientation. It's on 20 degrees. So here that's the location and the orientation is 20. And let's take a copy from this one and paste it on the shelf. Okay, and from here let's rename it and remove that number. And now let's refresh the view and come back to this one. Take the location and the orientation is 335. So let's change the location and the orientation. Save that and start the assembly. Okay, here we have those two nozzles. That's the first nozzle, and here the second nozzle. It's like that. Now we have one more nozzle, which is a manhole. Okay, it's a nozzle from pipe. So let's check M1 on the bill of material. M1 is 24 inches from blade with 10 inches with 10 millimeter thickness. Sorry. So from here, let's select can 1 and select this type of nozzle, and from here select nozzle from plate and define the outside diameter and the thickness, the longitudinal welding line orientation, and here's the location of the nozzle. It's 1250, so we will decrease, so it will be that value. I need to edit it. And finally the orientation of the manhole, so it's 270, so it will be like that. And let's add a flange. So from here N1 flange, sorry, M1 flange. So if we have the same name, which is N1 flange, so from here let's select the rating, select the size, and in the thickness is 10 millimeters, and click on save. Now let's add a gasket to that one, so it's M1 gasket. So from here let's select this type, the size, and save. Let's add a cover, M1 blind, and select that type, select size, and make it flipped. And now let's add stud, M1 stud, and select type, size, and the total length and the notch spacing. Finally, let's add the M1 Davit and click on save. Now from here we can select the suitable configuration for the Davit. So you have many different configurations. So you can select the suitable configuration for your case. We could select this one, select the rating, select the size, keep the orientation as it is, and now let's click on save. Now let's start the assembly. Let's change this value to make it like that, and click on start the assembly. One more thing, I forget to add a wear plate, so let's stop the assembly and check the wear plate of this nozzle. So here on M1 we have a reinforced pad with 280 with 22 millimeters thickness. So let's come back to the nozzle and let's add a repad and add that one, and the name is Manhole, and click on save. Now let's start creating the update the manhole with a repad. One more thing I would like to update it, I forget to update it, which is the projection of this one. So from here, the projection of the manhole, we can check it from the table. It's 2225, so we could stop that. Okay, after finishing, the flange, I think the flange itself is not with the right size. 24, click save. Now when we come back here and open the calculator and click the correct projection, now we can start updating the manhole projection and update the flange size. So here we have this manhole Davit. We need to rotate it. As you can see, after generating this, inshallah, we can, on the next part of the video, we will add the top head nozzles. Okay, and after that, we can add the top Davit and the external attachments and adding the lifting trunnion. As you can see, for the manhole Davit, we can change the orientation to make it suit the orientation of the manhole, and inshallah on the next part we will complete adding the top the top head nozzles, and on the next part we will have the top davit with the external attachments.